And then we have the other side. We have an enemy who strategically targets women. He wants women to fail and to fall. He hates women. And we have to understand and be aware of his plots and his plans against our lives. If we do not understand that we have an enemy and he strategically is plotting against our lives, then we will fall for his plans and his plots. We have to be aware of them. Satan, our enemy, knows the time is short, and he's relentless, and he's persistent, and he's determined to wipe out God's plans for our lives. He wants to diminish women's abilities for us so that we are not productive in the kingdom. But we have got good news for the devil today, that he is bound, he is under our feet in Jesus' name. He doesn't want us to succeed, but God does. And he wants to crush all the God's plans and purposes for our lives. And do you know where this all started? It all started in the Garden of Eden. Ever since God told Satan that the seed of the woman would bruise his head, he has been attacking women ferociously since that time. And you can see it through history. Do you know that women have been downtrodden throughout history? There's many acts of cruelty that have been done to women, against women throughout history. They've been burnt as witches, like Joan of Arc. They were continually sold into slavery. Even today, in third world countries, a girl is twice as likely not to be educated than a boy. I once read in the Charisma magazine, it said that there are 2 million girls in Africa and the Middle East that are mutilated through female circumcision. In 1991, there was an article in the back section of the New York Times, and the title was 100 million are missing. And the article explained that demographically, scientists can predict how many males and females should be born anywhere in a certain part of the world. And recent statistics show us that as many as 100 million little girls are missing in today's generation worldwide. And they're killed by their families because of their gender. Mostly there's a great pocket in India and in China that said there are 1 million little girls that have been aborted because of their gender. Satan knows that his time is limited, and he's doing everything to annihilate the plans of God for women. He wants to derail their God-given purpose, and he's managed to steal millions of destinies. He's already stolen millions of destinies. He will do anything to hurt us and to wound us and to discourage us from following the plans and the purposes of God in our lives. You know, I read an article recently about a little girl by the name of J.C. Duggan. She's not little anymore. But when she was 11 years old, she went to school one day, and she sat at the bus stop. And 2 crazy people came and they opened the car door and they grabbed this little girl. She was 11 years old. They shot her with a stun gun. They kidnapped her. They took her into the car and they raced away, and they went 200 miles away from where she lived. Then they imprisoned her in a backyard. They kept her like a homeless person in a tent. They kept her like a caged animal. And this little girl was 11 years old, taken away from her family, taken away from her sisters and brothers, taken away from her mom and dad and her family life. And there she was treated and mistreated. By the time she was 14, she had a child by the guy who abducted her. His name was Philip Garado in 1991. And so she had a child when she was 14 years old, and she had this child in a tent in the backyard, imprisoned in the tent. She had a baby in the tent. And then by the time she was 17, she had another baby girl in the back of the tent in the backyard. She was living a nightmare. On August 26th of 2009, 18 years after she had been abducted. 18 years this girl was held captive. 18 years this girl was taken away from her parents. And you can imagine what was done to her. But after 18 years, the guy who abducted her had to go to a parole office meeting. And he went to see his parole officer, and he took this girl with him. He took his wife with him, and he took his 2 daughters with him. But their unusual behavior raised suspicions. An investigation was carried out, and they found this young girl that was living in the backyard of their home. It's a horrifying story. I could not even begin to imagine, as a mother, with the hell that woman must have gone through, as the daughter, being continually abused and raped and abducted from her family. And I couldn't imagine the horrific life that she went through. But she was saved, and then after 7 years, she went through intensive counseling. But this is what amazed me about her. She said this. She says, "It feels good to know that I can face whatever life throws at me because I've been through hell and I've survived." She says, listen to this, girls. She says, "Something terrible happened to me, but I'm not going to let it ruin the rest of my life by letting something like that bother me." Oh my word, what kind of woman is this? She's a Joshua kind of woman. This is a brave and courageous kind of woman. And I think how free she is today. And she's she lives on her own, but her mom is close by. She's got horses, and she's raising her children, her 2 girls. So of course, the father, the guy who abducted her, he's in prison for the rest of his life. But she's raising her children. She's putting them through college. She had to learn how to cook. She had to learn how to make choices. She had to learn to integrate again into society and relationships. But she is free today, rebuilding her life. But then when I read the story, I wondered, how many women are being held captive by our enemy through different circumstances?
Thank you for watching Dr. Bev's YouTube channel. We will continue to offer dynamic and uplifting highlights from Dr. Bev's messages. Please take the time to like and share the videos. And most importantly, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Keep watching the Dr. Beverley Wolmarans YouTube channel.